Welcome to my talk show. It's called Mona Lisa's Talk Show, and I'm your host, Mona Lisa Joshi. And this is season 3, episode 4 happening today. And I have an interesting guest with me today. And I've already created some buzz on social media, but still, I would like to introduce her and give a little info about her before inviting her over. So she's an award-winning scriptwriter and author, and she's the daughter of the famous classical musician and guru, the late Pandit Amarnath of the Indore Gharana. So let me quickly invite Gajra Kotari ji. Hello,
Hello,
Gajra ji.
Lisa. Lovely to be talking to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored, and the pleasure is all mine.
Thank you so much. Hmm.
So before we start, I would like to know that how was your day, how much busy you were, and very excited for this interview.
Well, ironically, my day was full of housework because my house help didn't turn up. So that
Okay.
I guess is one of the ironies of life, which we all have to cope with. So I got to indulge in one of my favorite hobbies, which is cooking. So I don't know what I've cooked up,
Okay.
but I'm quite excited. Trying to look at the positive side, you get to experiment with the food. So
Okay.
that's how my day has been. I haven't written too much, but then the night is young, as they say.
And
Yeah,
is it because of the monsoon, the rains happening there?
to some extent, but periodically things happen. They're also human beings, so
Yeah,
we have to understand that.
that's true.
Yeah,
That's true. And I think COVID has taught us well. Do the errands and all. Now we are quite capable of doing it.
very true, very true. I quite enjoy it. In fact, it because I always do that as per my favorite music is always playing in the background, so it's never a chore. I quite enjoy it. Hmm.
That's lovely.
Hmm.
So, going through your profile, the first thing that struck me is, and I want to really know that you are the daughter of the famous classical musician and guru late Pandit Amarnath ji. And I just want to know that did you also learn classical music? Because I see your credibility more into the world of writing and all.
Yeah. No, I was a rebellious daughter. So, classical music needed a kind of discipline and quietness, and I was also a late child. So I honestly didn't get to see the very even the middle-aged years of my father. I began to appreciate and understand him much later. That apart, I satisfy myself with the fact that next to music, what my father really loved was writing. He used to write poetry, and he used to compose, he used to write lyrics. So I think I just got that slightly philosophical bent of mind from him. The so his second love is what became my first love in a sense. And I always remember with great fondness how we would be those were I was growing up in the 80s, so there would be a lot of times there would be ghazal programs, or there would be mushairas, or things like that, which um, on the one side I was studying in a convent school with an English education, so there was a lot of that which I would not have understood had it not been for my father. So we had a very peculiar relationship, as in we would he would help me understand sometimes the thoughts, the emotions, and we would see movies together. We were very fond of Sanjeev Kumar and Amitabh Bachchan, so we were a duo, a very odd duo actually. We used to go for the first day, first show movies of these actors. So, we used to discuss storylines after that. We used to sometimes argue, and I was much younger than him, so I was the one arguing more. But I think my mind just opened up with that kind of a childhood. I'm sure it happens in a lot of households, but I think his being an artist gave it that slight edge, which when I look back now, I feel it was a boon. It was real boon. And he was, of course, I didn't get to see him for too many years. Uh, Incidentally, this happens to be his 100th year. birth year. So we have brought out a this is what he looked like, and we have brought out in Hindi, which was his favorite language,
Okay.
a biography, which is written by my sister-in-law.
Okay.
And so I got that writing, thinking, and analytical edge from my father. I didn't take to music,
Okay.
so I appreciate music, but I don't sing.
Okay. And I really would love to know that since you grew up in such an environment, did it never influence you? And also, wasn't there ever a pressure that he wanted you to learn because you should, carry the lineage forward?
Right. There was a bit of psychological pressure, no doubt. It was something that one didn't understand. There are moments of regret, to be honest, that maybe I should have not been so rebellious.
Okay.
But he was always so proud of my other achievements. I had started to write and had a book published. He was able to see that in his last few months. And he was quite a democratic man, so he didn't put that pressure. Once he understood that her propensity is not towards music but is more towards writing, he was really wonderful. For those times, I think he just let us all free to pursue what we really believed in, because he said you will flower only when you do something that you feel that passion for. So I think I was very blessed that I got that kind of understanding from him.
So he understood your true calling and he allowed you to do that.
Yes, yes, yes. Always encouraged, very proud. And it's a little bit of a sad, ironic memory, but in his last few months, my first book had been published, so it was by his bedside. And he was in a bit of pain. This was way back 1996. But he used to touch the book and put it to his chest and put it back by his bedside. So that was signal enough for me, to know
That
that he was happy with what I'd done. Yeah.
wow, interesting. So next, I would like to know that you have also worked briefly as a journalist at the Statesman and later at the Magna Group. So then in
Right.
1996, you came out with your first book. So that is a collection of short stories, right? So how did the
That's right.
transition from journalism into the world of writing happen? And did you face any challenges to get yourself published in those days?
Right. That's a very interesting question, especially the latter part of your question about the challenges. A girl growing up in the 80s, I mean, you finished your graduation and you just knew you wanted to write, but it sounded very strange to say, I want to write stories or I want to write serials. Serials to tab hote bhi nahi the. It wasn't such a popular thing as it became later. So the only sort of avenue at that point of time was journalism in a sense, and I was growing up in Delhi, so there was no atmosphere of the world of entertainment per se in the 80s. So I kind of did the next best thing. So I got into journalism in a very prestigious institute called the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, and I did my 1 year and I did quite well. And then it's like I had dabbled in a bit of fiction. I published 2 3 short stories with prominent magazines. That was just something I did because I was bored and I said, let me try my hand at it. So I wrote a couple of middles for the Times of India, and these kind of emboldened me a little, but I was still at sea. I didn't know how this would actually, take me towards the world of imagination. So I worked, that was my phase as a journalist. And then I think वो कहते हैं ना पूरी कायनात आपको आगे बढ़ाने में लग जाती है when you are very passionate about something or you dream strong enough. So
Yeah.
I fell in love, I got married, and I shifted base to Mumbai.
Okay.
And then I went through a very ironic kind of phase for about 7 8 years where I had quit journalism because I wasn't happy with journalism. I felt I wasn't a good enough journalist. I had been a topper at IIMC, but I wasn't liking what I was doing.
Hmm.
So, but I was also lost.
Okay.
So I took a break of about 7 years where I had two children and I was a complete homebody. And those long afternoons when you're just wondering where is your life going, and are you going to be like this? You're enjoying your motherhood, but you're also full of questions that, is this how it's going to be for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
So that's the time that I just started penning. I said, let me get back to what I had dabbled in. And those were some short stories. And believe me, it was a dream come true because I got published at the first shot, my first try at getting published, and I had a book.
Uh,
Uh,
Kajaji,
this,
I have to cut you short here. Shantanu Ray Chaudhary is joining, so I'm just adding him. Hello, sir.
Hi,
I
Shantanu. Um, should I continue the
Yeah,
answer?
please. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, so I got published. I did my first collection of short stories, and there again got lucky because I presented a copy to Bhatt Saab, that's Mahesh Bhatt, and his wife. My timing was good because his wife was looking to produce her first show, and those were the days of what we call the Sas Bahu shows, and she wanted to do something different. And when she read the short stories, she felt that we could collaborate, and I did my first ever weekly show for ZTV called Hamare Tumhare with her. So after that, honestly, there was no turning back because the shows that I did happened to get successful, and it was also I was also proud because we were swimming against the tide. The kind of stories that I did, and we didn't meet with mega success, but we definitely got noticed. After Hamare Tumhare, I did a show called Astitva Ek Prem Kahani, which was a very bold story for its time. So, as you kind of meet with the kind of success you hadn't expected, it emboldens you. It definitely gives you a lot of strength. And then I was sort of completely preoccupied for almost 2 decades with the world of television.
Okay. And I see that you have won so many awards and accolades also, and you are the writer of Balika Vadhu. So how did this story started coming to you? Like one after another, you have created so many series, and people have loved them all. And mostly, I see that most of your stories are women centric. So why do
Yeah.
you only choose this subject, and what kind of portrayal you want to do about women through your series and all?
Right. So, I, women centric, I honestly don't have a very logical answer. I just feel that I know the world of women, or I understand the heart and soul of a woman much better than I do a man. That happens with a lot of writers. And my view or my take on how we should portray our women is a very strange combination of the traditional and the modern. I do not believe that rural is traditional and
Okay.
urban is modern. It's
Okay.
not always true. Very often, in cities, you find very regressive mindsets. Within
Yeah.
families, sometimes women themselves don't realize, what is their potential and what they can really do uh, to sort of keep their souls and hearts alive. So to
Yeah.
me, that's something very, very important. I just want to scratch that surface,
Hmm.
for women of across class and across caste, and make them happier in terms of understanding who they truly are. So why that happens is a very mysterious process.
Okay.
But once I decide that this is what this is my author's voice, and I
Okay.
guess it reflects in my stories, whether they are for television or they are for the world of books. It's just that I understand, or I attempt to understand, that every medium is different. So,
Hmm.
perhaps the stories that I can do for television or the way I can do them or I need to package them is going to be a little different from the way I would perhaps go all out and write a short story, which is much bolder. A lot of people who have read my short stories say, yes, you write about women, but the take and the kind of stories you're telling for your short stories is much bolder. It's visual because I guess that grammar has crept into my short stories. I've been writing television for so long, but yeah, I would say it's a progressive take. It's a take for women to connect with themselves better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So would you identify yourself as a feminist?
Yes, I think in a positive sense, I'm definitely a feminist. I want women to understand themselves, and I want the world to understand women better and not judge them, to give them the choices that they deserve. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So writing so many episodes one after another, how much time do you get when you are like the episode is on air and after that you have to write, or is it like you write them all together and then you submit it and then they are getting made one after another? Is it like that?
For long series, beyond a month or maybe which translates into 25 episodes or 22 to 25 episodes, you can't plan. Yes, because over the years, I have started specializing in the story part,
Okay.
not the screenplay. I've had to sort of give it up because it's too much to handle.
True.
So what happens is there is an overview. There should be. A lot of
Okay.
times there isn't, but there definitely should be. Like any good story, you have to have an idea of where the story begins and
Hmm.
where it is leading, and also where it is going to culminate. The only thing is, in television, we don't know when and how we will actually culminate the story, which tends to sometimes be a little harmful for the story, because if it's doing well, we just keep stretching it. Uh, but a healthy storyline for television definitely involves having an idea of a general idea of the story, and after that, maybe a month at a time. Only the important landmarks, say you have a protagonist and you have her journey. So you got to have a rough idea that, 3 months from now, this is
Hmm.
what my protagonist is going to be doing. And then 6 months from now. So around a year's planning. Having said that, Balika Vadhu ran into at least the episodes we did, 2,167 episodes over 8 years. So
But
while that was on, there was not much breathing time to
hmm.
do other stuff. But it was, every moment was worth it. Every
was it
moment.
was it hectic, pressurized, or
Yes.
were you pressurized? And also, I would like to know that has it ever happened like you have submitted one episode and it's all planned, and suddenly the makers of the series they say no, you have to change it. So you
Lots of
then
times. All the
okay.
time. All the time. We were lucky because Balikavadu did quite well, so everyone was very motivated, and therefore they stuck to the storyline, which was decided. I would say I was hearing a lot of horror stories of how it worked in other shows, so we were any day a lucky team that way. But there are many considerations. I mean, it's not just that someone for the fun of it tells you, "Kid, change this and don't do that." There were TRP pressures which exist, and they are much worse now than when Balika Vadhu was on air. Apart from that, there are production, I mean, if an actor or your main protagonist or an important cast, if somebody is unwell and they can't shoot, you definitely have to change the storyline and take it elsewhere. In fact, that's a bit of a convenience also, because you have the option of taking it to other characters, interesting characters. Um, there are, sometimes festivals which pop up, so you have to orient your storyline to those festivals, which can't be very morose. You can't have something very important happening during Diwali, because you know that a lot of viewers are going to be busy with their pujas and their other things. So those considerations, but over the years you get used to it. It's not very unpleasant.
Okay.
It's a challenge, definitely, but you can cope with it as a
Okay.
writer. Mm.
Lovely. And on the personal front, if we see that how much juggling you were doing, like you have to be there on the set, and suddenly that the director says, no, you have to change this, and then you have to look at your home as well, your children. So,
Right.
did you have that struggle as well?
Yes, I did. I did. And I was under the mistaken notion, like a lot of women are, that, I'm going to be a superwoman, I'm going to have a career, and I'm going to run a perfect home, and I'm going to be the best housewife, and blah, blah, blah. But you realize over the years that your energies are fairly limited. So I have a lovely family. So, everyone is very supportive and very proud of what I do. So there's a lot of affection and cooperation, if I may call it that, happening. Uh, but yes, there are times when you feel you've missed out on stuff. You don't have. There have been times when my family's taken a holiday without me. So that does hurt, because then you're actually I forced them to go, but when they actually went and I was all alone at home with just my writing, I
Yeah,
didn't enjoy it too much. So there is a price to pay,
true.
but I guess it's fine. I think there's no working woman who doesn't go through this.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think I'm one of the lucky ones, because I've had flexi time. I've
true.
also had time to make up. If I've lost out on something, a couple of
Okay.
things you can make up. A couple of things you miss out forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's one question coming from my associate editor, and
Hmm.
this question I have also made for you, but I'll take hers. So
Hmm.
she wants to know. Her name is Shrishti Singh. She wants to know that how is script writing different from story writing? Can you please share the details?
Hi, Srishti. I don't know whether you mean story writing per se, that is for
As in
books,
like a book?
or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So, see, it is about imagination, especially when you're like me, when you have, uh, your core competence is a broad story. So you're creating a whole world of characters within which there is a movement. There is, a journey, I would say, for the protagonist, for the antagonist, and for ideally every character that you create has to go from one point to another. Um, you have much more freedom when you're writing a book, because you can actually take it anywhere. It doesn't cost money, it doesn't cost extra money, for example. But when you're writing a script, you are definitely looking at four or five areas of concern. There's a grammar involved in every medium. In the case of films and television, there will be this thing that who is going to be my main character. Is it going to be a sort of a very big star, or is it going to be a medium star, or is it going to be a fresh face, etc.? Then you also have production. In television, budgets are limited as compared to OTT and films, of course. So you have to look at the constraints of budget, the constraints of cast, and most importantly, the packaging, because you can't do a bold story which will put off television viewers, because you know what your television audience is like. So you will say bold things. Your author's voice should allow you to say bold things, but you have to package it very cleverly. You have to package it in a way which makes it palatable for people. And I kind of uh, got the strength and the optimism to do that with my first show called Astitva, because when Astitva came onto Indian television, people felt that such a show, I mean, talking about a 34-year-old career woman who falls in love with a 24-year-old photographer who's very, very different from her, entire upbringing, mindset, etc., etc. people are going to dislike this protagonist. So we took it on as a challenge, but we also packaged her very well. We were deciding, for example, as a team, that what profession should we give her, which makes people say कि नहीं ये बुरी औरत नहीं है, ये अच्छी औरत है. She's a committed career woman who's serving people. So the cleverest thing we did was to make her a doctor, because you can't hate doctors. You will respect doctors, ideally. So, you are saying all the things that yes, a woman at 34 has the right to fall in love with a guy who's younger than her. Age is not such a deal breaker. It should not be. So, you're saying all these things, but you're also saying it in a very clever and smart way. And it was a very heartening feeling, very heartening response from the audience, where we thought we'd last for 6 months and we lasted 3.5 years. Until today, the actress who played Dr. Simran is, that's the nickname that she is called by even when she is living abroad. You know, so I think that that kind of strengthened our resolve that there is a way of getting your so-called message across. So yes, you have much more freedom when you write a short story or you write a novel. You are yourself. You don't have all these considerations to worry about and to take care of. And your voice is a lone voice. Your voice is truly your voice. Sometimes you have to compromise your storytelling for a script. But it hasn't been bad. I still believe that it's fine, because it's a collaborative industry. It's a collaborative business. You cannot deny the considerations of the other people involved. You're not telling your story for yourself.
Right. And in case we want to know that in terms of drafting also, is it different than writing a manuscript of a novel or short stories maybe?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. It helps. You see, what's happened, particularly in television, where I've done maximum work, we've become very specialized. Even there, you have a story department, a screenplay department, and a dialogue department.
Okay.
But you, even if you're just a story writer like I am, I can't write my episodic or broad story for television the way I write a short story.
Hmm.
I don't have to be very careful about my language. I don't have to have a stylistic way of
Hmm.
writing. That I need to keep for my books or for
Okay.
my short stories, etc. But I definitely need to keep in mind that when this is translated and the scenes are written, the dialogues are written, and it is short, it's going to have a very visual and a very dramatic impact. The emotion should like jump off your screen, and
Hmm.
it should hit your viewer. That is your success. So in terms of format, we don't bother too much with the niceties of language when we write scripts. We need to convey, and the people within the industry are very intelligent. They are smart. They can read something which may be written in the most staccato sentences, but it will still jump at them that, oh my god, when this is translated and this becomes a scene, it's going to have an impact. So there, the style, I mean, it takes much longer to write one page of a short story than it does to write one page of a script, a scene, if you're visualizing, because you just need to convey to the team, as they call, downstream operations,
Okay.
for downstream operations. Yeah.
And you've written so many series and also so many books, but I would like to talk about your latest book that's called, uh, what's the name of the book I've written? Yeah, Autumn Blossoms. And
Right.
first, I would like to know that why you have chosen this title, because again, I've noticed that these are all 50 odd women centric stories. So,
Yeah.
again, you've chosen the subject as women.
Hmm.
So, firstly, why the title, and second, I would like to know that what kind of stories you have written, what kind of emotions you're trying to bring out through your book, because of course we have seen the series; they are quite different. So, is it the same
Right.
or different in your book?
I would say they're different. The shades are different.
Okay.
There are a lot of stories which had been part of my earlier collections, and there are a whole lot of new stories also in Autumn Blossoms. I was getting back to the short story format after many years because I started with short stories, two collections, then I went on to novels parallel with my television career, and then I got back and put together this collection, in a sense, a lifetime collection. Now, first the title. The title is, I always feel it's, I don't want to talk down and say, oh, when there is a sort of मुसीबत के वक्त ही आपकी जो strength है वो आती है सामने. It's not as simple as that. We don't always win. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. Sometimes we just have questions which have no answers. So, all the stories are stories which most of them, I would say, I don't see them as television series at least. A couple of them I feel warrant sort of novels, and I am on the verge of doing OTT shows centering around these novels. So the cross medium things are happening, but most of the stories are one-off small stories with interesting characters whom I would not have been able to uh, bring out or use in my shows. The title Autumn Blossoms is we get to know ourselves when there is a challenge. It
Okay.
doesn't mean that it happens in the autumn years. Autumn is shedding of
Yeah. Yeah.
leaves, of notions,
Hmm.
and it's also preparing yourself for a rebirth. It's preparing yourself for a new phase. And I think as women, we need to do that, and we end up doing that, whether we want to or we are conscious or not. We just end up that way. So, if you recognize that as a phenomena of life, it makes life so much happier to deal with, so that was my sort of take. It's not, Autumn Blossoms is not the name of any particular story. It's a generic name. I've
Okay.
done that with my earlier
Okay.
collections also. Then, when I also tend to write about relationships a lot, women's relationships. So we've divided the book into three parts. There are stories about women's relationships with other women, which is very complicated. Um, Women's relationships with men, which we are all very interested in, and most important, and my favorite section of stories is women's relationships with themselves. Because unless we are connected within, we are not sorted. We cannot be sorted. We cannot be real, actually. Then we're pretending. So there are some stories in this collection about, women's relationships with themselves. So that's how we've categorized, and I actually got back to the short story format because of Shantanu, who you saw some time ago, and he's a great believer in short stories, and also another one who likes to swim against the tide. That why would we, always do things? There's a notion that short stories don't sell, whereas and neither he nor me as an author uh, quite understand why. Because
Yeah.
in this day and age when everybody wants to read short stories, I mean, the
Yeah.
entire social media, people are putting up short stories. Why not read formal, proper short stories which are also thematic, and they are food for thought? So I'm very happy I did this collection. It remains to be seen whether we are going to be proved right or wrong in terms of marketing and sales. But it's been a hugely soul satisfying experience.
And I would like to ask you one more thing, that I'm noticing that most of your series are also women centric, then your books are also women centric. The titles also suggest that. So, was it difficult to create one character different from the other? Did it ever happen कि इनके थोड़े traits, similar हो जा रहे हैं characters के protagonist के?
होता है. Yes, it happens. There, no matter how much you sort of streamline your life, there
Hmm.
are times when perhaps a book has to go to press. And I used to be writing for Indonesian shows also, and I would be doing Astitva at the same time. So I mixed up names. I'm terrible at it, but my editors have gotten used to that bad habit. So yes, it sometimes does create a scramble in your brain. But if you look at the amusing side and say, well, it's just teaching me more about human nature, you
Hmm.
know, what I learned from a story which I'm doing for another market is like, wow, sometimes you just wonder, कि ऐसा भी होता है. It's a learning as an author, as a writer. You want to know about so many shades of relationships all around, people who are not exactly like you, because that's the easiest thing to do. In
Hmm.
fact, that's where I'd like to give the example of Balika Vadhu,
Okay.
where the concept is not mine, but when I was offered the show,
Hmm.
uh, I initially said no, because I said I will not be able to relate to an 8-year-old girl in rural
Hmm.
Rajasthan who is married and enters her in laws and home, and how does she cope. I don't relate to that kind
Hmm.
of a life, but that is when my colleague told me that that's the very challenge. You discover yourself, and then you start reading, you start researching. When I started researching about child marriage, I discovered that it's there in virtually every corner of India. And not just that, it's there from
Hmm.
Afghanistan to Southeast Asia to you name it. And everywhere you discover a kind of a different shade. And there again, the challenge for a writer becomes to come out of your comfort zone
Hmm.
and to actually feel like them. The research plays a part, but apart from the research, you also you develop an empathetic bone. You kind of learn to get into the shoes and of a certain character, and then you discover that yes, I may not be 8 years old when I'm writing the show, but I definitely remember my childhood and what are the things I like to do. As an 8-year-old, all I could think of was what laddus to eat. And if someone locked me up in a dark place where I saw one lizard, that would be the end of me. So that's not difficult to relate to and to empathize. So when you develop that quality, I think one can deal with a lot of different subjects. And though I have written a lot of women's stories, I still have so many more stories to tell. I feel I'll never fall short of material, so to speak, raw material to shape into stories. Yeah.
So, is it purely your imagination, or you take inspiration from the world around you, the women
No,
around you?
it's definitely. I would say that because I was a journalist, and I used to read a lot of papers, but ironically, the political and the business news would not interest me so much. The inner pages and the triggers that they provided, or maybe it was just a statistic which I read about.
Okay.
Like there was a show I did called Molki, which was on bride buying, and which was linked to the skewed sex ratio in Haryana. The fact that there weren't enough brides for the young men to marry, so they started getting brides out of desperation from other states, including Kerala, including UP and Bengal, and from Armenia. I mean,
Okay.
Armenia. How? They don't
Yeah.
even understand the language. But when I read just a statistical thing about this, and my imagination went into overdrive. That what will happen if a girl, uh, for her own reasons, has come into this household which is so different, and she doesn't even speak the language.
Yeah.
So these are newspaper triggers. These are phenomena which sort of make you think, and that is most important for a writer. It triggers your thought process. Yeah.
Lovely. And Shrishti wants to know one more thing, that she is asking, what is more satisfying, being an author or being a script writer?
I'm not being politically very correct, but being an author. That script writing gives you loads of money and recognition, in the sense that the numbers of people, even a show that doesn't do well will have, in terms of sheer numbers of people who are watching you, it'll be much higher. So if you're looking at that, it's definitely very appealing, but it gets a little tiring, or maybe I'm just exhausted with some 2+ decades of doing this. That you're all the time, you feel like a puppeteer, who's trying to constantly do the balancing act, and you get smart at it, but then sometimes you wonder that, is this really me? Is this really how I want to do it, or I'm just uh, you know being very following that tightrope walk or balancing act, whatever is the best description. So when you're an author, you are really sort of liberated. Your mind is liberated, your soul is liberated, and you can actually write and you can edit it later, but I can actually feel that it's flowing much faster. It's not as much of a struggle as script writing is. There are just too many things to take care of while writing, and that doesn't happen when you're being an author.
So I think Shrishti has got her answer. Now I would be happy,
I
Gajarji, if
hope that
you.
doesn't put off Srishti from whatever kind of writing she wants to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gajarji, anything you would like to read from your book, any of your books?
Yes. I would like to read a small passage. This is my Autumn Blossoms. I think we've spoken a lot about that. And a very interesting phenomena happened, that one of the stories in Autumn Blossoms, which had been written a very long time ago, was something that I felt I hadn't done complete justice to in the short story format. So we've included it in Autumn Blossoms also because we want this sort of people who might be interested to see how something can evolve from a short story to a full length novel. The full length novel is this Girls Don't Cry. So it was a short story that became a full
No.
length novel because as an author, I felt that I hadn't done justice to it, and I felt very happy having written it as a novel. Now,
Okay.
I'll just explain the context of this. Girls Don't Cry actually is a three-generation story,
Okay.
because I find that aspect of women's relationships with each other very interesting. There's a grandmother, there's a mother, and there is a granddaughter. Now, we all think that, generations are very different from each other, but ultimately we are all women, and
Right.
we are all human, and we want the same things out of life.
Hmm.
So the passage which I'm reading is from the point of view of the sandwich woman who has got a mother. The mother is in
Hmm.
hospital. She doesn't know whether the mother will survive or not. It's her 50th birthday, the middle protagonist, and she's also estranged from her daughter because the daughter has now started feeling that the mother is an immoral woman. We tend to judge our
Hmm.
parents, especially women, a little harshly.
Yeah.
So this is um, Achla. Achla is the middle generation 50th birthday woman,
Okay.
and she's just writing her diary, and that's what it is. It did not particularly bother me what the world thought of my marital status, or whether I qualified as widow or divorcee. At that time, I didn't miss physical and emotional intimacy either, for I had never known it until Ravi came into my life. Till then, I was comfortable playing daughter, mother, and man of my home. For after Jatin left, I had also had to start earning a living to support BG and Amla. It was while playing the man's role that I met the man who would make me feel like a woman again. In fact, more than I had ever felt in my life before. I joined Ravi's office as a secretarial assistant and ended up as what the world, if it had known about us, would have called his mistress. Frankly, I could never understand what he saw in me, for his wife Ketki was stunning to look at. She was also a competent businesswoman and would have been an asset to any modern man. When I mentioned this to Ravi, he had said that the difference between Ketki and me was like the difference between synthetic and natural fabric. After all, he was the son in law of the founder of the famous Alliance Textile Mills. Synthetic fabric, he explained, always falls well but feels dead. The natural fabric, alive to the ravages of time and treatment, often does not look as good, but it breathes, and it allows to breathe, and is therefore alive. You are my earth, Ravi would often say after we became lovers. I remember how much he hated it when I once dyed my graying hair. Never do that again. You remind me of Ketaki, he had said in a distinctly wounded voice.
Wow, really interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that was really an amazing paragraph we just heard from Gajraji, and I think please audience support Indian authors, and also buy their books. Also, Gajraji's books are available on Amazon. And Gajraji, are you ready for this interesting segment? I call it rapid fire.
I'm crossing my fingers. I'm ready. Yeah.
It should be fun. Okay, so the first one is nickname your parents used to call you with.
Ouch. Guddu. Guddu.
Good too.
Hmm.
Okay. Favorite holiday destination.
I still have to get there, which is Kashmir. I can't bring myself to stop looking at pictures of Kashmir, and I'm going to get there very soon. But the one I've already been to, of course, London. I love London. The warmth about it, and my son is there.
Okay. What are you currently reading?
Okay, at the risk of sounding a little, showing off a little, there's this lovely book which is releasing in Mumbai. We've had releases elsewhere. The Swinging 70s. You know what happens with me is I get so tired of stories and characters that I like reading nonfiction. And I have now also contributed to one or two anthologies where there have been uh, fiction related in a sense. I've done my own kind of mood piece. But you know, as I look back, this is a book about. It's a non-fiction book. It's about the 70s era in Indian films. It was an amazing era where you had all kinds of cinema coexisting, all kinds of styles of filmmaking, and trend setting, cinema which was happening. And that is also the era where I am very nostalgic about, because I started seeing films with my father and understanding cinema. And in the 80s, I was watching the films of the 70s. So that's what I'm reading currently. And I'm amazed at the kind of people who have contributed to this. I have an essay on my favorite childhood hero, Sanjeev Kumar. But there are so many on from the women to parallel cinema to Gulzar Saab, who is a very very iconic director, lyricist, and who doesn't know Gulzar Saab? And some of the most unusual trends which one had never really bothered to understand. So it's a trip down memory lane for me. I'm enjoying every bit. I'm reading everyone's essays, and it's a very thick book. So it's a 500 plus pages. So it's taking a long time. Yeah,
Okay. Nice. Okay, so any secret hobby apart from writing?
cooking. I
Cooking.
cook trouble in a lot of people's lives in terms of my characters. But on a safer, tamer front, I love cooking. It's my go-to hobby.
Hmm.
And sometimes the family suffers a lot with my experiments, but I couldn't care less.
Okay. So, this one is something that I don't know if you dodge it or not, but I'll still ask. Are you a better singer or a writer?
Oh my God, I am a better writer for sure. For sure. I don't dare sing. I wouldn't dare sing. Yeah, except to myself once in a while.
Okay. Okay. So the next one is, if not a writer, what other profession you would have chosen?
I think I would have opened a restaurant.
That's nice.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you still have time. You can do it anytime. You can do it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, yeah. Why not? I mean, I think during COVID, we were all seriously, as a family, thinking of we are such foodies
Yeah.
that we thought that, perhaps this was not a bad business to get into later. And we
And
read
you can.
about a family which had gone into the mountains, shifted base from an urban, completely urban setup. I forget whether it was Delhi or Bombay, but they
Hmm.
actually went into a place, small little place like a Rishikesh, and opened their restaurant where people could eat North Indian food.
Hmm.
And also because I'm married to a South Indian, so that
Oh,
exposure has also brought in a lot of variety into my life, and especially in food. So I think food really interests me, and I'm still learning.
and I think you can name your restaurant Autumn Blossoms. Just a
How
suggestion.
sweet, how sweet is that? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the last one is, any superpower you would like to possess if you get the chance.
Superpower to be just the weight that I want to be. Because I think as women, my gosh, that's a lifelong battle. We all want to be thin. We want to be, be able to be fit and athletic, which is such a struggle. I wish I could just say, okay, I want to be 60. I don't want to be 65. I wish I could sort of control that part of my life better. Hmm.
That's interesting. So in the end, Gajraji, I would like to know that would you like to give any suggestion to the aspiring authors, writers, or if somebody wants to step into screenplay writing
Yeah.
and all?
Right. As they say, I think it's nothing new in terms of the advice that I would offer would be keep rewriting. Never think, because that goes with a larger issue. We think we've written something great, but just try putting it aside and getting back to it after even a few days. And you
Hmm.
will want to do 20 things new within that page. So never think you're the cat's whiskers. Be prepared for a rewrite. In fact, marinate your writing. Much like we marinate stuff in
Hmm.
cooking. And everybody knows that for a lot of exotic foods, the more you marinate, the better the taste.
Hmm.
So you need to marinate your thoughts first, and then you need to put it on the fire. So do that, and don't take yourself so seriously. I
Hmm.
think I've been able to learn from the best of situations and people only because when I started out, I was so scared. I was shifting from, a medium where journalism sort of, you're wedded to facts, it was sacrosanct. And then I was taking this leap into the world of imagination where you have to sort of not take facts are just the base, and
Yeah.
you need to build on that with a whole world of imagination. So the when I was forced to do that, and I met some wonderful kind people who really sort of helped me in my journey. Um, so when I was able to do that, I realized that one of the biggest issues that screenwriters face is that they feel कि जो हमने लिख दिया है ना वो पत्थर की लकीर है.
Hmm.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's really not. Have an author's voice, but also be prepared to uh, go with the flow in terms of script writing, and then keep writing your books for all your creative satisfaction.
So, Gajraji, one curious question I have coming in my mind that you have so many books to your credit, so many TV series to your credit. So, I think writer's block is something that doesn't exist for you, or does it?
Uh, no, I mean, I feel the need to take breaks, but I've been quite clear that writing is my passion, and um, I feel very lost if I take too long a break. I think I'm blessed that way because I enjoy it. A particular story may make me tired. That अब ये नहीं हो सकता है और and
Hmm.
frankly with Balika that had started happening,
Yeah.
where you felt कि अब how many more time leaps are we going to take and how much more can I play with this theme. I've explored every possible options. So it can happen with a story, but it should not happen with a career, with your passion. You have to remain. I've been blessed. I haven't faced any major writer's block. It's gone on maximum for a few weeks. You take a break, and you're back. You should be back with a bang.
I think we should really, all of us, the writers here, and also the people who are watching, they are all writers. We should really learn from you because writer's block is something, it's happening so much with us these days. And then this new thing, Jomo. So
No, also because
we,
of distractions. We all
yeah.
you sit down and then you're all set to write, and then you say, "Let me check my social media and let me, check my mail and see what is happening on Quora or XYZ." So we allow ourselves to get a little distracted. But when you have limited time and you're juggling a lot of things, you force yourself to focus.
Actually, I think the difference also comes here because you have been a full-time writer and you have been like you have made it a career, and
Yeah.
some writers are just writing it like for like it's therapeutic for them. It's more like cathartic, like
You're
they're just
absolutely
writing it
right. I
just
hadn't
as a
thought of it
story.
that way, but
Yeah.
yes, you have a very major point in that. Yeah, yeah.
So perhaps, yeah. So it was lovely talking to you, Gajraji, knowing your journey and also so many series you have given us, and we have enjoyed us. Also, our, like my mother-in-law was a big fan of Balika Vadhu. She couldn't miss an episode.
Mm-hmm.
So she is
Okay.
very happy when I told her that I'm going to interview Gajraji, and it's truly an honor, truly an honor. Really
Thank you
grateful.
so much. It didn't feel like an interview. It was just like a lovely chat I was having. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me on your show. Thank you.
Thank you, Gajraji. Wishing you all the very best. Have a great evening. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
So I was talking to Gajra Kotariji, who is an acclaimed author, and also she has written many TV series. And Balika Badhu is one of the most known and popular one, and also Astitva. If you haven't seen them, just go and watch them. They are all there, I guess, on YouTube and all the channels, colors, and all. And also buy some of her books because we must support Indian authors. So with that, I'll take your permission to end this session here. Bye. Have a great time. Read more books and keep writing. Also, bye.